Rain lashed against the grocery store windows as Ethan stood in the checkout line, his worn jacket damp from the storm outside. He was a single dad doing his best to hold everything together, but tonight, exhaustion weighed heavy on his shoulders. His 6-year-old daughter, Lily, stood beside him clutching a small chocolate bar, her bright eyes filled with the innocent excitement only a child could have. Their cart was modest, just milk, bread, and a few basics that had to stretch until the next paycheck. Ethan smiled down at her, hiding the ache of worry that never seemed to fade. Ahead of them, the cashier looked nervous. She was young, maybe in her early 20s, and her hands trembled as she tried to scan the items for the customer in front. Coins slipped from her fingers, clattering across the counter. Her cheeks flushed red with embarrassment as she muttered apologies. Ethan watched quietly, noticing how pale she looked, how her lips quivered every time she forced a polite smile. Something about her struggle pulled at him. He'd been there himself, barely holding it together while pretending everything was fine. When it was finally his turn at the register, he offered her a gentle nod. She didn't meet his eyes, but he could feel her nervousness like a silent cry for help. Lily tugged at his hand impatiently, unaware of the heaviness in the air. Ethan exhaled slowly, sensing that this encounter was about to touch his heart in a way he didn't expect. When Ethan reached the counter, he tried to ease the tension with a small, understanding smile. The cashier avoided his gaze, fumbling with the barcode scanner as if afraid she might drop it again. Her hands trembled so much that the bread nearly slipped from her grip. Ethan's voice was calm, almost fatherly. "Rough day?" he asked softly, trying not to embarrass her. She gave a quick, nervous laugh, the kind people use to hide how bad things really are. "Yeah," she said quietly. "You could say that." But Ethan didn't look away. There was something in her eyes, exhaustion, fear, maybe even pain, that told him this was more than just a hard shift. He hesitated for a second, then leaned a little closer. "Hey," he said, lowering his voice, "are you okay? Why are your hands shaking like that?" For a moment, the world around them seemed to fade. The beeping of scanners, the chatter of customers, all of it blurred into silence. The young woman froze, her lips parted slightly, eyes glistening. It was clear no one had asked her that in a long time. She swallowed hard, her throat tightening as she tried to speak. Then, almost in a whisper, she said, "I'm fine." But her voice cracked, betraying the truth. A single tear slipped down her cheek before she could wipe it away. Ethan felt something stir deep inside him, a quiet knowing that this woman was carrying far more than anyone could see. The cashier stood still for a moment, her shaky hands gripping the edge of the counter as if it were the only thing keeping her upright. Ethan waited patiently, sensing she needed someone to listen. Finally, she exhaled and whispered, "I haven't eaten all day." Her voice trembled, heavy with exhaustion and shame. "My shift started early this morning. I'm trying to save every penny I can. My little boy in the hospital, he's 3. He needs surgery soon and I can't afford to miss a single hour." Her words came out broken, each sentence cracking like glass under pressure. Ethan's chest tightened. He knew that kind of desperation all too well, the endless worry of a parent fighting alone, the feeling of falling behind no matter how hard you try. He looked down at Lily, who was watching silently, her tiny hand wrapped around the chocolate bar she had been so excited about moments ago. The innocence in her eyes made his heart ache. Without thinking, Ethan reached for his wallet. He counted out his money carefully, knowing how little he had to spare, then slipped a folded 20 under the counter where she wouldn't notice until later. "Keep the change," he said quietly, pretending it was nothing. The woman blinked in confusion, trying to protest, but Ethan only smiled softly. And then Lily tugged his sleeve, her small voice breaking the silence. "Daddy, can we give her my chocolate too?" Ethan looked down at Lily, his heart swelling with quiet pride. Her tiny voice was filled with such innocent compassion that it nearly broke him. He nodded slowly and she smiled up at him before turning toward the cashier. Holding the chocolate bar in both hands, Lily offered it gently across the counter. "This is for you," she said softly. "You can share it with your little boy." The cashier's lips parted, her eyes filling instantly with tears. For a moment, she just stood there, frozen, staring at the small act of kindness that felt impossibly big. She tried to speak, her voice shaking. "Oh, sweetheart, I can't." But Ethan stopped her with a quiet gesture. "Please," he said firmly, though his tone was kind. "Don't say no, just take it. You're doing your best, and that's more than enough." The woman pressed her trembling hands to her mouth, overwhelmed. Tears slipped down her cheeks as she finally accepted the chocolate bar, holding it like it was something sacred. "You have no idea how much this means," she whispered through her sobs. Ethan met her gaze with understanding. "Actually," he said gently, "I think I do." For a moment everything felt still. The rain outside, the noise in the store, even time itself. The cashier let out a quiet laugh through her tears, the sound raw but real. In that simple exchange, the weight of two lonely struggles lifted, if only for a moment, replaced by shared humanity. As Ethan and Lily stepped outside, the cold rain greeted them again, but this time it felt softer somehow, gentler, almost cleansing. Lily slipped her small hand into his, skipping to avoid puddles as they walked toward their old pickup truck. For a while neither of them spoke. The sound of the rain tapping the hood was the only thing between them. Finally, Lily looked up, her curious eyes full of thought. "Daddy," she asked quietly, "why was that lady crying?" Ethan smiled faintly, glancing down at her. He searched for the right words, the kind a child could understand. "Sometimes," he said softly, "people cry because they've been trying to be strong for too long. And when someone shows them kindness, even just a little, it reminds them they're not alone anymore." Lily nodded slowly, processing his words, then smiled. "So we helped her." Ethan squeezed her hand. "Yeah, sweetheart, we really did." He watched her beam with pride as she hopped over a puddle, her laughter echoing in the quiet parking lot. When he glanced back through the store window, he saw the cashier standing there, watching them leave. Her hand was pressed to her heart, the chocolate bar still clutched tightly in the other. In that moment, Ethan realized something simple but profound. It doesn't take wealth or grand gestures to change someone's life, just a little compassion. And as he drove away, he felt lighter, knowing that even small kindness can ripple into something extraordinary.